Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the south-afrifur Pawdcast. You're listening to myself, Ivik Wolf, and my co-host is Scratch, as always.
Yo.
And our guest for this evening is Quartz Husky. How you doing, Quartz?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. This is pretty big for us, I think. But yeah, so for the people who may not necessarily know you as well, maybe just give us a small explanation as to who you are and what you do.
So I guess I'm a lot of different things. So for one, I'm a YouTuber, and I make various different styles of content. But I would say the main thing that I'm known for is making some more analytical content, specifically on demographics in the fandom. With this specific approach to the statistical aspect of it. So I break down various stats just to try to understand the fandom better. But also sometimes I just make random dumb content because that can be more fun and also just easier at times. But I'm a board member of Blue Ridge Fur Fair. So that's a convention in North Carolina. We haven't started yet. We're a first year con, and we premiere in March. And then aside from all the furry stuff, I have day to day I'm a data analyst, and I guess that's just about all I can say.
All right. So, I mean, one would think that data analysis and, the more sciencey sector of the furry fandom wouldn't necessarily get as high an appeal to people. How does that happen? How does that work? You've got 131,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. That's absolutely mind-blowing for most furries, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. That is not the appeal of the majority of the furry fandom for a lot of reasons. One of which is that in general, we don't have, at least in my opinion, and understand, I'm a statistician, so I'm a little biased, but most people don't have proper education in stats. So a lot of what I talk about is it's just too complicated. People don't know what I'm talking about. I think a lot of that can be overcome, the fact that it's not really something that people would say they're interested in, by relating it to the fandom. Most people inherently have an interest in the fandom and understanding it because they are furry, but most people hate graphs. So my first job is to convince them why they need a graph, and start the intro out in a way that doesn't just dump math on them, and then ease them into why they actually need math if they care to understand. But also a second point, the fact that not all of my content is highly based in math draws people in. People who otherwise would definitely not watch. And then once they're already there, once they're subscribed, they're like, he's making videos with math in it. I guess I'll watch.
All right. Let's see here. There are a lot of questions currently coming through. I'll just ask one of the ones from our list here. I'm just trying to find that list. Scratch. This happens far more often than you know. Actually.
You're good. I'm in no rush.
Right. With regards to your YouTube channel, you said the goal of your channel is to sort of introduce people to sort of the world of the intersection of the furry fandom and the stats surrounding it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Going forward with your channel, are you looking to sort of push more like comedy content, a little bit more statistical content, or a little bit of both?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer. Um, uh, so I have been a stats student. I majored in statistics. So I've been doing that for the past years, and uh, I've been majoring in that since before I ever had this channel. So now I've graduated, and in 2 weeks I start my first like full-time job. And my question is, can I mentally do math all day and then go back to my apartment, and will I have the willpower to then make a video about math? Um, I don't know. It might make me better at my job. I'm just a student, so I have a lot to learn about the world of data, and I might get inspired and want to make more and much better content. I might also just be burnt out and want to make a dumb video. Um, and I've also thought about making videos on data that's not related to the furry fandom, and then just having the furry channel be for just fun, dumb videos that I want to make.
All right, awesome. You're thinking of moving the stat stuff maybe to a different channel, a sub channel, and keeping
Yeah.
the. Okay.
Maybe we'll see.
All right. So, I mean, like when it comes to the, and we're going to talk about stats for a bit
Hmm.
longer. Like, I mean, there are other sort of people or groups out there as well. I know that there's a furry research group that exists as well.
Yeah.
Like, do you sort of draw data from them as well?
Yeah.
How exactly do you gather your statistics?
Um, I I primarily use other sources because um, I feel like it's hard for me to gather data on furries because I think that how am I supposed to sample? Like, how am I supposed to survey people? My audience is, uh, I don't think my audience is exactly the same as the average furry. Um, so I tend to use their data, uh, but also because they are very experienced with surveying, and I trust their abilities to do that more than me. My job really is not to create data or to find data as much as it is to understand the data in a way that draws meaningful conclusions from it. Um, and but yeah, no, I love those sources, and I wish more people talked about those sources, specifically well, all of them really. My problem is that so much of what we talk about when we talk about demographics in the fandom is unsourced, um, and we kind of just make things up. Like, I don't know how else to put it. So when people talk about any type of demographic, like I hear people all the time say things like, uh, let me give you an example. That like 75% of furries are gay, exclusively gay. Uh, Like, I just don't know what to say. That's just like not true. You know, things like that spread, because no one ever really checks their sources, and because people don't usually like talk about these things using graphs or like really accurately. We just kind of casually talk about them, but like these things get out of control and turn into like weird, almost like rumors, uh, that are kind of baseless. So certainly I like these sources because I think they provide some scientific backing for all of these statements we make about demographics.
Yeah, that
Right.
having that backing
Yep.
is yeah, it's obviously like the mark of the hallmark of a good researcher. It's like
Hmm.
being sure to have enough sources, enough like credible
Yeah.
information, as opposed to, like you said, uh, that sort of thumb suck 70% of X or Y kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for doing the heavy lifting as well.
Yeah. But also like kudos to them because they do a lot of the really boring stuff, like sampling people at Anthrocon. They just sit there with surveys. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
I've seen
that
that.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Go.
No. I was just
Um,
agreeing.
Sure. So, one of our listeners here does have a question.
Yeah.
Golden Saber asks, "How do you stay calm while making videos?"
Calm.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I guess it's not. I don't really get nervous because there's no audience.
Mm.
Um, though I can kind of see how you'd be nervous. It is like a form of public speaking, even though
Yeah.
um, even though no one's here alone in a room with a camera. Uh, yeah, I think really it's just doing it again and again and again. Like I don't know how else to put it. Um, and it's really apparent that my charisma has gotten so much better since doing
Mhm.
YouTube. Like I just sound nervous in the beginning, and I stumble over my words. And I've even had people like my parents. They come to me. They're like, "You speak so much more clearly, and fluidly," which is interesting because these are not furries. Um, uh, I just think that doing it again and again and again, and then staring, I edit my clips and I see stutters and mistakes that I make when I talk. That helps improve that, and it just makes me less nervous in general.
All right. That's actually pretty good. So click that in the general chat. So Erogene asks or says that they saw your video, and since we'll sum a lead directly into this. Saw the video that you posted on BRFF 2020. Has it
Yeah.
gotten a lot of attention so far? What exactly? Maybe just walk us through what BRFF is.
So we are a fur care, a fur con in
Uh-huh.
the Carolinas. Um, so oof, it's hard to. I'm not sure what else to say, but I also
Mhm.
have 10 million things I want to say. Um, uh, we didn't have a fur con, or at least we didn't have an active fur con. And the only other fur con was on hiatus. Um,
Yeah.
uh, so I found it sad that there was nothing I could do at least that year, um, within my region, because like there's 15 million people in the part of the country I'm from, the Carolinas.
Mhm.
So it felt kind of ridiculous that there's no con. Um, so I wasn't actually the one who started it. It was a number of people. A number of board members from Asheville started this thing, and they did some of the most challenging work, the paperwork in the beginning, and then I joined later on. So I don't want to take credit for all. I'm also
Mm.
one board member. I'm not the con chair, so I feel like I'm rambling.
No worries.
But yeah, what was the I guess the original question is what it was. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a con in the Carolinas, and we start in
Mhm.
March. It's in the mountains in Nashville.
All right. Like what's your initial group or like group numbers that you're possibly looking at for the convention?
Yeah, so that's really hard to know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you two know, like X number of people pre-register, right?
Mm.
Hmm.
And then people who didn't pre-register show up. Um, uh, if anyone's listening and thinking about going to BRFF, it helps a lot if you pre-register.
Hmm.
Um, so we don't know. A local con had about 100 people pre-register, and then
Mm-hmm.
600 people showed up.
Oh, damn.
So we have
Oh.
200 people pre-registered right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. I'm gonna get like 4 to 800,
Oof.
maybe four. I don't know. But what we also know is we look at our hotels, and a ton of people, way more people have like booked hotels. There's way more people who have hotel rooms than there are people pre-registered.
Mm.
Oof.
So that I don't know. I say 400 to 600, but some other board members say like 800. I have literally no idea. I just hope we can prepare the right amount, you know.
Yeah.
Best of
Right.
luck to you guys, seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually
I
for us
think-
it's the
I
opposite
think
problem.
just-
There's a lot of
Really?
like everyone pre-registers, but then a lot of people can't pitch up because either the drive is too far or can't fly in or money issues or
Yeah.
whatever.
How long would it take to drive across South Africa?
A day.
From Cape Town
2
to Joburg,
days?
16 hours if you drive in one shot.
Oh,
And
rough.
at the speed limit.
Yeah, and at the speed limit.
man, that's really rough.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of somebody who pretty much broke every single like driving law they
Mhm.
possibly could, driving in and around about 160 to 180 constantly,
Wow.
and made it from, I think, just about 200 kilometers outside of Johannesburg, made it
Mhm.
to Cape Town in 6 hours.
Jeez.
Wow. 6 hours.
6 hours
That's
of 100
ridiculous.
of 1,400 kilometers. That's ridiculous.
They were going really fast.
Damn.
No stops, no rest.
There were no police, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they were lucky.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is strange. Like
It
I always
happened.
get police coming up.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't I don't test it that much. Maybe like, okay, I talk in miles, but like
Yeah.
maybe 10 kilometers over the speed limit, you know,
Yeah, maybe just push it a little bit
a little bit, yeah.
because it adds up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what's the speed limit like there?
120 on
120.
national roads.
Yeah,
You said 120?
kilometers an
120
hour.
kilometers, yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Work that back to miles. It's about 90 miles an hour or something.
90 miles an
Oof, 90 is probably like 80, I would think. Oh, none of us are that good at translating this.
hour.
Yeah, somewhere between 80 and 90 miles an hour.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's really fast
74.
for here.
Oh, 74.
74.
Oh, that's
Okay.
74.5. Yeah.
That's less than I thought. Okay.
That's about what we have here.
Yeah.
We have 70 miles an hour here.
All right.
So,
Okay. Sure. About 1,500 members. Possibly Aero says 1,500 members at your convention, maybe.
I
There
hope not.
is-
That's if we have that, we're over preparing. You know,
Yeah.
we want to. It would be better to over prepare and spend a little too much money,
Mhm.
than just like not have enough stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I hope. I don't know this. I'd hope that people, if they go and there's more people than we expect, that they would at least view it with a silver lining and say, well, this place is packed, but we understand that it's a first year con. That's my hope. But I don't know. We'll just over prepare a little bit, and if we have to spend a little bit extra money, it's not the end of the world.
All right. So we have a question here from Golden Saber. I think we kind of covered it, but let's cover it a bit more directly. The inspiration for making YouTube videos, what exactly was yours?
It's kind of interesting because that's something that you evolve in over time. Originally, I don't really know why. Like, I saw everyone had this thing they do. They're an artist, they're a YouTuber, they're blank, and I thought I want to do that. And I think I also, like, low key, like, just to be blunt, like, I was the idea of having a big audience was something that interested me. But that was in the early days. But as I did it more, I cared a lot less about the audience. And you can see that pretty clearly reflected by the shift in tone of my channel, but also in the shift of content. So I mostly, in the early days as Fjord, I thought, like, I want to be involved in this fandom. So I kind of made whatever I thought would get the most views. And then I had a point where I kind of felt disenchanted with it. Like it felt kind of soulless. That's kind of like towards the end of Fjord. Like I had a sense of frustration that like maybe making these just for views, like I just didn't like it. But then when I got Quartz, I decided like, okay, I want to make content that I think this fandom needs, and that's why I made a lot more data-oriented videos. Because once I got Quartz, it became a lot less dumb videos, and a lot less like really clickbait things, and much more just things I found interesting.
Oh, that's awesome. It's sort of a nice little fresh start as soon as you got the Quartz suit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think I don't know what happened if I hadn't gotten Quartz, but it certainly revitalized my channel, but also just like helped me pursue not really a different identity. You know, I wasn't like hiding Fjord, but um, a new sense of direction, which is kind of like low key why I don't have Fjord in videos, because I don't know, it was just like a transitional period, and I wanted to move on and evolve and search for a different type of content, I suppose.
If we can, yeah, if you don't mind sharing, who is the artist who made the Quartz for you?
The artist.
The suit maker, the suit maker.
Yeah.
Oh, Mischief Makers.
Mischief makers. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I was they had never done a suit like this. They used bases. And they hadn't really done digi like this. But and they also like this. I gave them a kind of vague idea of what Quartz was, and I said, just have fun with it. You know, you do what you want. Quartz is pretty similar to the original ref sheet I gave them, but I just kind of gave them a good bit of artistic liberty, and like low key, I'm not a fursuit designer, and they are, and they did a better job than I could have at designing Quartz. So I'm very glad I gave them that liberty, because they made a lot. Bongo, she's the one who worked on the head and a lot of the small details. Really just thought outside the box.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another question from chat here. Nax Bat asks or states they're a high schooler about to start a semester of stats.
Yeah.
When they get back from their winter break.
Mm-hmm.
This will be their first time learning about statistics in a formal setting. Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
tips for doing well in it?
Let's see. Don't get behind. Like, like if you have a lesson and you go to class and you think I didn't understand that, you cannot like not study and try to catch up next lesson. That's the mistake I made so many times. Like it's not like so like if you mess up in like history class, you know whatever, you go back in the next day and you'll pick up, and you might have like missed a day of history class, but you know you'll learn that when you come back the next day you'll learn that content. But like if you miss a day of stats class or math class and then you try to come back the next day, it's just building on what you missed before, and you'll keep like digging this giant hole for yourself. So yeah, I would recommend just keeping ahead on it, and even like maybe reading a little bit before the class itself starts.
Yeah, the same with same with the math that I did when I was at university.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't fall behind. Like it's building on fundamentals day after day. If you fall behind, you are in trouble. So just
It's miserable.
yeah, just try and keep up.
Yeah.
Do your best
Yeah.
to keep up.
Yeah. I I need to go for like a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry about that.
We'll do
Okay.
the dum-de-dum stream.
Okay, cool. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, so that is Quartz
Mm-hmm.
here on stream. We're busy doing filler seconds for Quartz to come back within the next minute. Hope you're all having a good evening. So if you do still have any questions in chat, you can obviously type them there. We've been answering or putting them up as we get them, as we go through them. It might take us a while to get through to the questions that we sort of need to. We do have questions that were submitted to us ahead of time, so it's if you don't hear your question by the end, we're sorry that we didn't get to it then, but we'll definitely to get to them as much as we possibly can. We're going to be, yeah, as Archer says, dum dee dum dee doo. Okay.
How was the festive?
Yeah. What for? For me?
Oh, for anyone listening, anyone caring
Yeah.
to share.
Okay. Cool. Yes. How's the festive?
Yeah. How was the festive for you, Ivik?
Slow, quiet. I don't like being off from work all of a sudden.
That's
because
weird.
I have to sit at home and do absolutely nothing for goodness knows how long. It hurts my soul.
Hello, I am back.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah. The worst thing is that I can't not do anything, so I've been literally stalking every single Twitch streamer I can find.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's a productive use of your time.
You know how it is, me and stalking. Sorry. Yeah, go.
No, I have like a chronic tendency to do nothing. So I've been trying to like just go outside more or like do anything other than just like sit here.
I've built up the same tendency recently, unfortunately, and even like binging a series, I'm like, do I have the energy for this right now? It's supposed to be
time.
it's supposed to be comedy stuff, but like, do I have the energy to really watch The Office start to finish right now? Like,
No.
It's bad that things like literally playing a video game, I'm like, wow, this is productive, because the alternative is like staring at my phone.
yeah,
So
napping.
that's the main thing. Like that's the main thing I want to cut down on. Like if I'm spending my days productively, like even if it's not productive at all, if it's like playing a video game or especially just going somewhere or like going outside, then I'm like, I didn't get anything done, but whatever.
Yeah.
But what I really don't want to do is like spend more than an hour a day like on my phone, just doing nothing.
Yeah, I feel you. It's been it's been a rough sort of few weeks for me in that regard. It's just been there's nothing good to watch on YouTube. Like the internet is boring me. It's like there's nothing to do, so I just sleep.
Just like waste away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so depressing.
It's horrifying.
But it's I don't know. So what I've done to fight that is like I've looked up parks in my city. So like I go to random parks, and so many of them are like just awful, like just trash everywhere.
Oh no.
But I go and I'm like, I don't care, you know, I'm outside. Even though this place sucks, like I did something today, and I think that makes me like feel a lot better and spurs me to be like more productive on the days that I do work.
That's good. That's definitely a good approach.
Yeah.
So Galax has a question. It's been 10 minutes, but Galax does mention or ask, how long does it take you to produce one of your statistical videos? Because the quality and the animations are just amazing.
Yeah, the animations are rough. I thank you also. If I'm working really hard, like really, really hard, pretty much every day, it's like a week.
Oof.
I don't think people understand. Like, this is what I don't mind the time, I do, but whatever. But what does actually get under my skin a little bit, and not many things do, but I will admit that one thing that does get under my skin is the like lack of awareness, how long some of the videos take. So I'll spend hundreds of hours on a video, animating primarily, like the After Effects stuff. So I'll use After Effects to animate graphs and maps, and then
Yeah.
someone will like leave a comment like, "Wow, cool. Hope you can get another video out in the next few days." And I'm like, "What? Do you think I make them this fast?"
Hmm.
Or people will say like, uh, uh, they're thinking about doing YouTube because it seems like it doesn't take that long. Like it just seems like an easy way to have a hobby.
Womp womp.
I'm like,
Yeah.
do you know how much time this takes?
Yeah, and unless you hire an editor, then that's just more money out of pocket. It like saves you a bit of time, but
Well,
it costs you money.
well, here's the problem. Like, I think this has evolved, but I think the thing that makes my channel stand out is that I edit well.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of hiring an editor is like destroying my my forte. You
Hmm.
know, maybe I could maybe hire an editor to do some of the more mundane stuff. Like the most mundane thing you can do is when you have the original audio and video, and it's like anytime you're filming a video, there's pauses where I'm saying nothing, and I need to cut out all those empty pauses. And I say each line like 5 times, and I use the best take, so I'm having to get rid of the bad takes,
Yeah.
and that can take like a couple hours to 3 hours for a video. So I could hire someone to do that. But also the biggest problem with me hiring people to do stuff like that is that like I really don't make that much money from this. I like people see my subscriber count and think, "Oh, that guy must be loaded." But like I don't. If I were to spend money to hire an editor, I would probably just like I would like have no money left over
Yeah.
for I wouldn't like lose money on YouTube, but like I wouldn't make it either.
But I mean, and like maybe just talk us through this, because as far as I
Yeah.
know, again, like the whole YouTube thing sort of works on algorithm and algorithmic based like
Hmm.
content. So within the first 2 weeks of a particular video, this has to happen, this has to happen, and that's when you maximize the amount of money that you sort of can get out of it. And especially with something like maths, which, as we can sort of clearly hear, is a passion project to you.
Hmm.
Um, it makes it a little bit difficult to sort of come up with that sort of balance, doesn't it? This idea that on one hand, like
Hmm.
creating content over short periods of time, as much as you possibly can,
Hmm.
is more monetarily stable,
Yeah.
whereas making something that requires time, effort, passion, it the two things don't
Yeah.
add up.
No, definitely. Like, uh, and it's not just that that. So for one, you mentioned like making a bunch of like okay videos. You get ads on
Yeah.
all of them. You get viewership, but also like I don't know how to put it. I don't feel like I feel like a lot of people uh they don't really care if it's like well done. They just want to see something because they're on their phones at 1 a.m. Like, so why put a ton of effort into making an amazing video when you could pump out three that are all like okay?
Mm.
And that is probably like the biggest existential crisis I face as a YouTuber. Um, uh, and some people might say that like learning After Effects was a bad thing for my channel. This is something I think about all the time because it meant that my videos got better, but I made less, and it makes you less viable. Um, there's no right answer to that, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, that is tough, and I mean, like, I
Yeah.
think it's not just furries that suffer from that. It's pretty much
No.
almost
No.
everybody in
Yeah.
the YouTube community. I've heard it being spoken about almost
Hmm.
left, right, and center. It seems
Yeah.
to be like the main focus a large amount of the time now,
Yeah.
and like, I don't know, like there's probably not much that YouTube could do to fix that. or do you think that there are things that they can do to sort of maximize input and output, like balancing?
There are things YouTube could do to fix that. I think that it's fundamentally against the 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 goals of YouTube. So like, and I try not to sound like too conspiracy theory about any of this. I think that YouTube could essentially focus attention towards creators who create polished content that is well done, or they could focus on people who just create a lot of content. And I think I'm trying to figure out how to word this, so bear with me. But I think YouTube doesn't care as much about having a lot of really polished content, because that makes them less money. What they would rather have is people uploading just constantly, because I think their audience is like just kind of binging videos. I think a lot of people who watch YouTube are not really sitting down and are like, I want to watch the best content today, like the most professional.
Yeah.
I think that they're
and
just
only 5
scrolling.
of them, only the 5 best things today.
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
YouTube could here. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say, right? Like YouTube could focus everything and create a small amount of good videos that would satisfy someone for like 15 minutes and give them 15 minutes of good quality content, and then that person would leave. But YouTube does not care about like customer satisfaction so much as they care about customer engagement.
Or retention.
Yeah, because in a larger sense, you're not the customer, you're the product. The customer is the advertiser, and they want to create a product that's not necessarily satisfied. They just want to create a product that's like low-key kind of addicted. Because an addicted viewer is great for an advertiser, because they're going to view like 20 ads. They're going to sit there for like 4 hours on their phone and just keep watching videos. And that tendency creates an environment where I think subpar content is made en masse. If that all makes sense.
It definitely does, unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's not just YouTube, that's a lot of social media sites.
Yeah. Like you could pretty much, like, if you can slap on like a bit of glitter onto something and it looks professional, irrespective of what the person is saying, how the person is saying it, it will at some point inevitably generate some form of viewership. I mean, it's one of the things that, say, Scratch and I sort of constantly deal with, is the fact that like we give hour-and-a-half interviews in full, uncut, as it goes, with whoever's willing to join us on Pawdcast. Like, yes, it could be easier somewhere else, but the thing is that like it's just the chosen medium for us at this point, because at the end of the day, the intention isn't necessarily to get a mass viewership. The intention is to get information out there. If somebody finds the person that we're talking to interesting, and not many people have spoken to them, for instance, like 10 to 1 in the furry community, like we've spoken to a whole slew of different people. There's an hour-and-a-half on people who just, like, if you search for their names in other places and things like that, I think sometimes ours would be the only content you'd find. And it's in depth, or at least as in depth as it can get, depending on the medium. And like an hour-and-a-half at times is not enough time.
No.
So it's all out there. So it all depends. Like, but speaking about something like that, and especially with the idea of popularity, I'm just going to segue into a question while we're here. Eragine asks, considering furry as a topic, what subtopics within this topic have you found to be the most popular?
Let's see. One thing, it depends on which site you're talking about. So the most popular thing is like just some of my most popular videos are just chaos.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
15 fursuiters, one room is my most viewed video, and that video is like garbage. Kind of, it's garbage, but like it's not actually bad. If that makes sense. But as far as like discussion topics in videos, low key, and this is something that makes me sad. But a lot of the things that have gotten the most views are just things that are like controversial or complainy.
Mhm.
Like if I complain about something, then people get really angry and like share it. And it it spreads on. They're not necessarily angry with me, but they're like, yeah, this thing sucks. Let's all complain about it, and they'll share it
Dog
everywhere.
pile.
Um, and that's something I don't like. Like I because especially maybe in the last year and a half, I've moved away from that. Like I don't want to focus on negative things all the time. I think
Yeah.
like that's just bad for mental health. Um, uh, so I don't focus on negative things as much, and I look back at some videos and I notice that things where I just was like really really complaining, people that's like spread like wildfire, um, which I find kind of sad. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
You don't want to turn into furry Alex Jones.
yeah, no, yeah.
Sorry.
um, but also discussion topics that are really basic. So if I talk about like something like how to buy a fursuit, so many people are interested because I think there's so many people who are like on the fringe and kind of interested, and some of those people I'm not sure why there's so many more people who are interested in things that are really basic within the fandom. Um, but yeah, that type of stuff tends to do really well.
Right. I missed this question about 26 minutes ago. Archer asked, as a content creator, what has been the most difficult hurdle to overcome, and how did you do so?
Um, that's a good question without an obvious answer.
Mhm.
Um, I would say like rebranding my channel was really hard. Um, uh, both so like I have kind of two rebrands. One was Fjord to Quartz. That was a very much like a physical rebrand. Like literally my suit changed. But also I had like more of an emotional rebrand point. Um, that was about like 2 years ago. So I changed my style of content. Like this is what I was talking about earlier. I felt like I was kind of just yelling in my videos. Uh, and I decided I didn't want to make content like that. I wanted to make more sincere content. Um, and that was kind of hard because uh, like Quartz is like objectively a better fursuit than Fjord. So while some people complained, most people were like, whatever, this is fine. Um, but people were like confused as they wanted me to rant about something, and I just didn't want to rant anymore, and I found that to be hard. Um, but the only way to get through that was just to not care.
It's a good way of looking at it. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's for the health of your channel and your own mental health to a degree. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
Uh, um. Oh, okay. That was a question for me on a
Yeah.
different channel. No, I
Oh
was.
yeah.
I was.
Do you
Yeah.
want to? You can answer a question if you want. Go for it.
No, 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 no. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just. But yes. So speaking of like some of your older videos, there's a question here about Fjord. How
Yeah.
happy are you with your old Fjord videos, or do you just see it as a thing of the past?
That's a great question. Um, and not in there's like no obvious answer. Um, I look back and I like cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh. Um, and the ones I really don't like are the complaining a lot. Um,
Hmm.
though I think almost like those videos were, I was complaining so ridiculously that it was kind of like a joke. so I don't even hate him that much. Like I was just kind of like screaming, but I value the content I made, and I think it helped people and entertained people. I would not make it the same way again. But I don't feel the need to like burn all of my past just because I felt like I would do things differently now. I the more time I get, especially like the more time since I changed to Quartz, the more I kind of respect what I did in the past. And also the more different I am from that content. But I still like I'm proud of that content that I made, even if I don't agree with all of it.
So I mean, and with that sort of movement, I mean, you've been doing this for four-ish years now.
Wow,
Uh,
that makes me feel weird. No one's ever said that to me, but now I'm like, wow, 4 years. Jeez.
yeah, I mean, like, what's it? At least the first one that I see here is
Yeah.
3 years old.
No, you're right. Yeah,
September 11th, oddly.
I know. I know. That people. Yeah.
But like with the kind of like way that you started that, like it's that entire idea where, and I mean, you can see it with a whole bunch of channels that sort of start out. It's that sort of, it's, I guess, what do you call it? Why? Yeah, you spread man, you spread the net very widely across like groups of
Mhm.
things that you wanted to speak about, and then you sort of focused a little bit more on that. Like
Mhm.
when it comes to that kind of content and like looking at your earlier stuff with the wide spread of net, I mean, you're looking at politics, you're looking at
Mhm.
goodness knows fursuiter domination in YouTube as well, like all of those
Yeah.
particular ideas and ideologies. Like, do you think that looking back at some of these videos and some of the I guess opinions that you put out there, do you still
Mhm.
believe in them? Do you think that your opinions have changed since like how did you
Yeah.
evolve doing that?
Yeah. I disagree with some of the videos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I agree with the majority of them,
Mm-hmm.
though I have a much more nuanced approach to most of the issues. Like, if you watch
Yeah.
most of my videos, I'm just like angry about this thing, the Fjord videos. I'm
Mm-hmm.
angry about something, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, everyone who who doesn't think this, what are they? That's crazy. And now I'm like, well, I kind of see where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are a lot of nuanced things. Like one of them you brought up is like fursuiter domination on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and like these days I would say like yeah, that's true, and that's kind of bad. But also, like, what I can't blame people for looking at nice suits, you know? Like, so I kind of see both sides to a lot of these issues now. Also, a lot of these issues I would just never talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to talk about politics
Mm.
anymore. I don't. Well, I hardly talked about them, but I don't touch things like that.
Do you think that? And I mean, again, 3 years, not necessarily the longest time, but
Hmm.
like with the last 3 years of, I think, furry media both being a lot more publicly accessible
Hmm.
on the one hand, and then on the other, with, I guess, a large amount of different content creators are out there. If you're looking at something like something that I've been talking about quite a lot recently with Twitch, for instance, there's so many like large communities that are beginning to rally behind a particular streamer, things like that. Do you think that
Hmm.
we're becoming a little bit more nuanced in the way that we approach content creation?
How so? Like expressing art? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, in the way that we express ourselves, that we're able to, instead of, again, maybe just shouting at the void,
Yeah.
rather coming up with a more nuanced approach. Yeah.
Um, I don't think that. Though I'm not sure. Like, it's really hard to break down my own biases with this. Um, I think that when I log into like Twitter or something, I see very unnuanced opinions, like ridiculously unnuanced. And same goes for YouTube. Um, I think that I changed in that sense and grew, but I don't necessarily think that the fandom changed with me. Um, for me, like I took like a mild break. I didn't like take a break from the fandom, but I took a break from social media. And then when I came back, I was like, y'all are just yelling a lot. And I guess I kind of realized that I was doing that too. But I don't really get the sense that the fandom has changed much in that sense. But y'all might disagree. What do y'all think about that?
I mean, like again, and I've been mentioning now, I've been on Twitch quite often.
Yeah.
I have a lot of free time right now, so I tend to watch streamers quite often, and it
Yeah.
seems like the way that streamers approach their product, and I guess that's one way to say it, and I hate the term, but
Yeah.
like because you're technically selling yourself, you've created yourself as a product, you've created yourself as a particular voice within a particular fandom. You've got 120 people, goodness knows, 70 people,
Mm-hmm.
or 50 people, or 20 people, or 10 join your stream or watch your video. And at the end of the day, whether somebody watches it to fruition is extremely important, especially on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. You need to have the 80 to 90% completion rate, which is why we'll never get there, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But like that entire thing, and especially when you're limited in many
Mm-hmm.
senses, and I'm saying that you specifically, you have at best 5-minute videos, 6-minute videos.
Yeah.
It's hardly enough time to really get into the meat of things.
Yeah.
How do you feel about sort of being limited like that?
I don't know. That's a good question. The bigger limiting factor is not like a sense that YouTube has its limits on like how long I should make a video. For me, the bigger limiting factor is that um, uh, my editing. Like I just can't edit a 10-minute video that's like edited to like golden perfection with animated charts and maps. That's just too long. Um, I would actually counter what you said. I would say that
Yeah.
that at times YouTube overly, and this might have changed, but that YouTube overly emphasizes making long content. Oh, it incentivizes it too much
Mm-hmm.
because you're often rewarded, and I don't know, like YouTube's kind of a black box. Its algorithm, no one really knows what's going on. But from what I can tell, at times it overly rewards making long videos because it incentivizes it's like one of the factors involved is watch time. And
Yeah.
if you make like a 20-minute video, you just need like 25% or like 10% maybe of your viewers to watch the whole thing, and you just got 20 minutes. And 20 minutes is a lot.
Yeah.
So, and you can see this in the Fjord days. So like clearly in the Fjord days, I tried really hard just to get as many views as possible. If you look closely at my content, I made a lot of 10-minute long videos,
Mm.
and I just felt like I was rambling, but I just wanted 10 minutes. And these days I'm like in, I guess it kind of goes back to the point you were saying, like, I don't know. I just feel like I could get more views if I made it longer, but it would crush me as a content creator
Yeah.
to make garbage 15-minute long video instead of a good 4-minute video.
Yeah, that sort of the same counts for like the animation scene on YouTube or anything that really requires a lot of
Yeah.
like off-camera work. Like the animation scene on YouTube's kind of
Yeah.
dying in the sense that the algorithm is pushing
Yeah.
the shorter videos down, but
They have it
make
harder than me. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I mean,
making a 15-minute animated anything is
yeah.
ridiculous.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, like I know I basically like am halfway an animator at this point. Like a lot of my videos, my ones, it's like animating maps and maps. Yet what they deal with is much harder because they're animating like literally the entire thing.
Yeah.
Um, they have it really bad.
I mean, but then again, and I guess one of the sort of saving graces in many senses is that idea of using things like Goodness, I've lost it. I've seen it now, and then I forgot what the bloody thing's name is. But like you have sites out there that allow people to support their creators.
Patreon.
Patreon,
Yeah.
thank you. So, and I mean, like you've obviously got a Patreon as well. It was just used in chat as well. We've posted, yeah. We're by the way, we're
Yeah.
literally posting links towards things, and your
Okay.
Ko-fi, or yeah, wait, our Ko-fi is also
Yeah.
here. Those kinds of things. Like, do you think that that's actually more useful to have like a little platform to put what you're doing, but then also state that people who want to be able to sponsor you directly can? Do you
Yeah.
think that that's a better method of getting your content out?
It'd be better if just both would pay me properly. You
Fair
know,
enough.
Patreon's great though. Yeah. I mean, I suck at Patreon. Like, I'm really bad at posting content,
Mm.
and I think that like shoots me in the foot essentially because I lose so many patrons. I'm just really bad at keeping up with it. But even when like and I actually have my Patreon on hiatus right now because like starting work, like people aren't being billed because I'm not making anything. Like I'm
Yeah.
not posting anything on Patreon because like I just can't. Um, but what was I saying?
Mm.
Yeah, no, it would be better if like both Patreon and YouTube just worked right,
Yeah.
I guess.
All right. Let me just look back at our list here. I think we've gone over that question. Question about Quartz. Why toony and not realistic?
Um, I just like tuning. I don't know what to
Okay.
say. You know, I just think it looks cool.
Okay.
And yeah, and you said you said you gave the creators a lot of liberty as well with regards to that.
Yeah.
So it just came. I'm assuming they took they took the major leap towards a toonier look than a more realistic look.
All of their suits are pretty toony, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so that's part of the creator's stamp, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say that.
So
I wish I could give a. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go right ahead.
I was saying I wish I could give a better answer to that. I guess
No
there's
worries.
not much to say. It's pretty simple. I just like tuning.
And I mean that's yeah. If you put it down to preference, that's perfectly fine. I mean, like if you look at
Yeah.
something like if we have to look at that question, for instance, we can also correlate this to, I believe it's Majira, who has also recently had some form of, what would you call it, controversy, and I put this into massive air quotes. Like literally people are asking about why they changed their suit, what was the point behind it, and things like that, and the answer is pretty much, I like it, so what's
Yeah.
your problem?
So yeah.
Right?
I don't know what to say. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that with
Yeah.
YouTube. I think you end up becoming sort of a character rather than like a human being, and people very much, they're like, why was my favorite character was just changed? And I was like, no, dude, like this is my persona. I'm a person. I'm not like, you get a haircut that's odd, and they're like, oh, my favorite character got a different haircut, and it's like, no, I'm a YouTuber. I'm not like I got a haircut because like this is my head.
It gets hot under these locks.
Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
People, yeah, and a lot of those people are young, and you know, I can't blame someone who's like really young for making some of these misconceptions.
Yeah, but still, it feels a little puerile to go like, Markiplier got a haircut, unsubscribe.
Oh yeah, no, it's weird. You know, I guess I just try not to worry about it anymore, and that's what YouTube, I think, has done for me. You cannot be insecure on YouTube and also be mentally healthy. Like, and that does not mean that all YouTubers learn this lesson, because a lot of them don't, and you can tell they're like super insecure people, because you have this ridiculous amount of critique of literally everything you do. People, for some reason, feel like it's okay to critique like everything, but also it's just a lot of attention. And a lot of YouTubers just act super insecure, But like for me, and that was me for a bit, but like pretty quickly I learned, and the more I did YouTube, the more I learned this lesson.
Mhm.
In order to like really have self-confidence, whether it's like your appearance, but also just like anything with like your fashion or the content you make, or literally anything, you need to like for a second just not care about what they think. Uh, and I think YouTube's kind of taught me that lesson. Like having strangers on the internet tell me I should have gotten a different haircut, I guess taught me that like I should not care what strangers on the internet think about me.
Very well said.
Yeah. Yeah, no, much
Thank you.
agreed there.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, like it's that entire idea of like being an influencer or considering yourself an do you like okay, first question. Do you
Yeah.
consider yourself an influencer within the furry fandom?
Uh, I don't like that word. Uh,
Yeah.
but I don't like that word because most people who call themselves an influencer like have a big ego. I don't know how
Because
else to put it.
no, perfectly fine.
But like uh there's nothing theoretically wrong with being an influencer. And like so I guess technically I am, but I I also die a little bit inside when I say that because most people who
Mhm.
I know who call themselves an influencer are kind of annoying.
Mm. And because that sort of leads me to my secondary point. People who do, I guess, they call it clout chasing now, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like either on Twitter or wherever else they do it. Like this
Hmm.
entire, like some people call it call out culture, anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure whether it is call out culture or not.
I think
Like
call out
if it
culture
isn't,
is something
yeah,
separate from clout
yeah,
chasing.
because I
Yeah.
mean it depends on whether it's something that is extremely problematic, and if
Yeah.
people are saying like this person is doing something problematic,
Hmm.
then what they're kind of asking that person to do, and maybe this isn't something that isn't picked up on quite
Hmm.
often, is that entire idea is that if somebody calls out on something that is genuinely, I guess, against human nature,
Hmm.
let's call it that, then they're kind of telling that person, you have the chance to respond to this. And a large amount of the time, you'll find people doubling down. Like, what
Yeah.
do you think? What leads to that kind of mentality? Do you think?
Um, a lot of
Hmm.
things. That's like a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think part of it is that you're not seeing the face of this person you're calling out.
Hmm.
We would
Yeah.
never ever talk to people the way we do online in real life. Like
Oh, of course
we're
not.
we would never
Yeah.
do that. Uh, and not because we're wimps, but because uh, there's reasons we don't treat each other with disrespect, right? Like um, when you're trying to convince someone of something, even if you really think that person did something, and if you see them face to face, I think socially you have something built into you that kind of tells you to like not be too rude because it doesn't accomplish anything, right? It's just polarizing. But when you don't see someone's face, it's easy to like call someone a bitch and tell them to go to hell. Um, Even though that doesn't help anything, it's easy to do that because you don't have that same like innate social. We all have something inside of us that when we see someone face to face, we know not to say things like that. Um, I don't think we know why we shouldn't. The reason why is because it's not productive. But we have that like that's socially built in. But when you're on the internet, that social cue doesn't kick in. Um, but also, I think that in a grander scheme of things, and I think this is the more influential thing with regards to why people do this. Um, I think that the social media sites we use are designed, and I say this like I worked on studying Twitter data for like a year and a half. Like this is some of my main profession. I think social media sites are designed to spread negativity and aggression. And people who make these posts have been on Twitter too long, and the more they're on these sites, the more really aggressive things they see, and then
Mm.
they make really aggressive posts like that.
It is a bit of a negative feedback loop that, like this little hive of just people shouting at one another, upvoting and retweeting, and then that message
Yeah.
just keeps getting disseminated, while all the good stuff gets sort of drowned out by
Yeah.
negative noise.
Yeah. Well, like the negative noise is it's powerful. It
Yeah.
engages people in a way that positive content couldn't. Um, because it's really addictive. Like, you can look even from like a scientific, a neurological standpoint. We process most positive interactions in the prefrontal cortex, which is like the front part of your brain. And we process most negative and fear or anger-based emotions in the amygdala, which is like this tiny, tiny piece of your brain in the middle. And the amygdala is much more like tied to your fight or flight responses. It's like creates really extreme responses, uh, and, and so in a certain sense, I really don't think that all emotions are processed equally. I think fear is processed by a really crappy part of your brain that is
The
really,
stupid
really,
little lizard brain.
yeah. Stupid. It taps into the stupid lizard part of your brain, right? And if you can tap into people's fear and anger, you can really get them like addicted to your website. If you're Twitter or Instagram, you can get them really addicted, and you can get them to spend way too much time on your website, and they'll view a lot of ads. And I don't think that this is necessarily something Twitter set out to do, but I think it's something that the algorithms like have accidentally. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but my point is that I think it's built into the algorithms. I know it's built into the algorithms because, I studied Twitter data for a while, and me and everyone who I worked with, we would joke about the data, how clear it is. The more you look at it, that it's just negativity loops.
Yeah. So Bravura is asking a very interesting question here. Which platform do you think would be the most powerful to spread your opinion, both negative and positive?
Um, Probably YouTube, I would say. If you're talking about like just spreading an opinion, oh my gosh, there's dogs barking.
No worries.
Sorry. If you're just trying to spread an opinion to like as many people as possible, I guess YouTube, because I think YouTube is unparalleled in this fandom and the audience that you can reach.
Yeah.
Unless I can't think of anything like that.
Good point.
I mean, with those kinds of changes, not necessarily changes. I mean, like I think somebody was asking about this is very very early in chat. Okay, we've asked that question. I saw a question here that I know that I skipped because I thought that we might have covered it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. You'd ask again. I'll maybe know whether or not you've asked it before.
Yeah, no, it's not that one, but I think we asked about the inspiration, did we? Your inspiration towards
for what?
making YouTube videos?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
Then hurdles. Okay, it seems I've missed it, but I mean, like that entire idea of algorithms and everything like that. Not to mention the fact that we're literally creating bots that can almost speak and type better than we can, even on a good day. Like it becomes kind of scary to think that the vast majority of our content is being controlled by an algorithm that we have no control over.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel we should actually be approaching things like that? I mean, I know recently there was, there was a call to arms about like what's it, t-shirt creators, people who were literally just creating t-shirts by like trolling across the internet and taking it. Like, and then they counteracted that by literally like favoriting a whole bunch of copyrighted things, so that I think it was Disney that got involved and just shut it down.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it's stupid, like really, really scary things like that. That the way to beat the system is to overpower it with people. Like, how do you think that we should approach it?
For one, I think we need to use the internet a lot less. I think that one of the biggest problems with this fandom is that it hooks a lot of people into spending too much time on their phones. Like, and I can say that as someone who had that problem. Like, definitely, I would waste hours looking at my phone. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with like going on Twitter, but like I'm talking like 2 hours. Like, I think that's unhealthy. I think that these algorithms are less powerful if you spend less time on them. But also, like, I don't know what to say. I wish I could give a better answer, but like, you can't get around it. It's just so built into the fundamentals of how these sites work.
Yeah.
My biggest fear, you brought up fears of like exploitation, like financial exploitation. And that's certainly something that I worry about. My greatest fear is how, I don't want to sound like doomsday. My biggest fear is how these algorithms exploit like mental health. So they essentially exploit their users into spending more time than they should on these sites. And they do that in a number of ways. But they do that, we've talked about how they do that with negativity. They also do that in their design. And these algorithms, they're really not designed to pick out the best content. They're designed to create an environment which will just keep people on the site as long as possible. That seems really fundamentally unhealthy. So the only thing I can think of to try to counteract that is to be really cognizant of the amount of time you spend on social media, and to also be really cognizant of the types of thing that these algorithms are picking out. A lot of it's really hard to tell what's going on, but the one thing that's really clear is that pretty much every algorithm, whether it's YouTube or Twitter, is finding really negative content. It's not just negative content. Like, I don't have anything against call-out posts or people being negative. Sometimes it's okay. I'm being really negative right now, obviously. But
You're fine.
this form of aggression, I guess, and like really panicky negativity, and like tweets in all caps, things like that. That is something to be wary of. To say, well, like I mute anyone who does something like that, and like low key, I mute a lot of people in this fandom, people who I'm friends with. But I think if you're noticing that your feeds are like really just full of people screaming, the algorithm, it's trying to feed you this stuff. The best thing you can do is just try to mute those people, and be aware that like it's better to not always be around this negativity. And the only other thing you can do is just try not to spend like too long on your phone. And there's nothing wrong with being on your phone. Like, I like being on my phone, but when I look back like to like maybe 2 years ago, I see days where like I spent 4 hours on my phone, and I ask myself, is that like really the best life I can be living? And the answer is definitely no.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, it's oddly enough, and I mean, like, we can augment our lives around what we want to be able to do. Like, for instance, it's not that I've sold the car, but the thing is that like I don't drive my car to work anymore. So I've doubled the amount of time that I spend traveling to work. But it's a lot more fun. And that's something that we need to be able to do is that I think, and maybe what we can sort of like tie this into is the idea that like we're fueling our dopamine with the easiest way to get from one point to satisfied. Whereas the most important satisfactions take a little bit longer to be able to sort of really feel their effect. So something like losing weight takes months. It sometimes takes years to get to a point where you're satisfied with who you are. But at the end of the day, if it's all just this quick 5-10 minute video, like, oh, this makes me feel really good because they played or they did this thing that makes me happy. So and that's something that I guess, like, if we are going to make content, that we should be a bit more mindful of how we're giving it to who's watching or listening to us.
Yeah, I mean, so you just brought it up from the creator side. Like,
Yeah.
How do we make content knowing that these algorithms are often used in ways that are unhealthy for us? How do I cope with that? I don't want people to waste their life watching my videos. Like, they can watch it if they watch it in a healthy way, but like, some people will message me, they're like, I've binged your videos for the past 5 hours. And I'm like, dude, go outside. What? They're not that good. I don't say that, but like, that's what I think. Um, and I don't know what the answer is. Like, as a content creator, all I know to do is like just try to remind people to go outside sometimes, or like try to remind people to have some balance in their life. I'm not sure what else to say. There are some things that different types of content creators can do. Let me give you an example. Like, mobile game developers sometimes design their games. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Scratch knows all about this.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, like, please continue talking. It's like, I used to work in that space for a little bit, and it's just, it's insidious, the kind of stuff that people put in there sometimes.
So they have a term. I love this term. I use this term for YouTube and Twitter. It's called a whale.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I heard from a game developer. A whale is someone who is like low-key addicted to, not even low-key, like high-key, addicted to the game, the mobile game. And they spend many, many, many hours on it without like stopping. And
also spend money on it.
Exactly. So they spend money on your mobile game, and the thought process for the mobile game is that we're not going to make most of our money from like, average users. Our target is to get like a few people really hooked on it, and those few people will spend like hundreds of dollars on our mobile game. And that seems like a really insidious, like, just absolutely taking advantage of poor mental health. I find that really frustrating. I can't think of many examples of things like that with YouTube. Oh, no. I know one. I've been in this situation, and I didn't do the wrong thing, but here's an example of when this happens with YouTube, and hopefully most content creators do the right thing. Some people low-key have like, I don't know what to call it. It's like borderline of mental illness, but they like need affirmation to feel good about themselves. So they come to like a YouTuber, and they like give you like a bunch of money on Patreon, and they pretty much are like paying you to hang out with them, right? Like, they'll stop giving you money if you stop chatting with them. Which I don't mind. Like, I totally get people would want to like donate and chat with me, and I respect that. And I even think like if someone donates a lot of money, like, I'll totally chat with them. Like, some people want more than that. Like, they straight up want to be like a really close friend of mine, and they keep donating more and more money. And low-key, I feel like I'm like taking advantage of a mental illness if I keep taking that money. Like, I could pretend to be their best friend and like rake in all this money, but I feel really weird doing that.
No, I completely understand that.
It's not quite as insidious as like the mobile games thing that you were just talking about, but it feels wrong.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, oddly enough, this actually leads us into a question here by Bravura again. Like, in the YouTube space, like, how much has YouTube changed you? So this is like, I think, a three-part question. So how much has YouTube changed you? Are you still the same person that you were before you became famous?
Yeah.
How do you now deal with the fact that you are known, and has anything changed when you go to conventions? Have you ever taken advantage of being famous?
I I need to be right back. I'll be like 60 seconds,
No worries.
but I'll think about that. Sorry.
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
I'll be right back.
Worries.
So, for those of you who are listening, you're still here on Free.fm. They're speaking to, God damn it,
Quartz Husky.
Quartz Husky. Thank you. I'm terrible with names. People should know this by now. I cannot. Okay, tell you what. I have, and this. Tell you what. This is going to be my story for the next 60 seconds. I have students that I know for 3 years. I have literally walked them to graduation. I've had conversations with them. I've shared semi-illicit, not illicit, cigarettes with these people. I've spent time around them. I still can't get their names sometimes. Scratch gets confused with Badge at times. Badge is my husband. This happens. I am sorry. I have low-key at one point thought, and now I'm low-key as well. I've actually thought that I had like Alzheimer's for a period of time. And then I realized that it was just major amounts of stress.
Hello.
Anyway, so
Hi, I'm back.
yes, would you like a recap of your question?
Yeah, that might be nice.
Okay. So Bravura asks, how much has YouTube changed you?
Yeah.
Are you still the same person as to before you became famous?
Mhm.
How do you now deal with the fact that you're known? Has anything changed when you go to cons? Have you ever taken advantage of being famous?
Yeah. Okay. So those are all really good questions.
Mhm.
I certainly try not to use the word famous to describe myself because like
No worries.
it just feels awkward.
We think you're famous.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Uh, what was the first of those three?
Okay. Are you still the same person you were before you
Oh,
became?
And how has
no.
YouTube changed you, if it did?
Yes.
I think I'm fundamentally the same person, in like a lot of my core beliefs and things that I stand for. I am much less insecure than I was before.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not gonna dive too much into like my personal life
No.
or self-confidence, but I will say that like, I wanted affirmation. Anyone wants affirmation. And YouTube in the beginning for me was very fulfilling in that sense because I felt insecure, and here are thousands of people who are just like giving me constant applause. Um, and then it led to like a lot of insecurity because um, uh, inevitably there's going to be like one negative comment or something. And then I guess I kind of came around to realizing that I really shouldn't worry as much about what other people think about me. Like, my self-confidence should not be based on something external, right? That's not self-confidence. Self-confidence is like that's something extremely internal, and that's something that you need to find by yourself.
Yeah.
In that sense, while I think a lot of YouTubers, a lot, get super insecure, and you can tell that they like crave attention. A lot kind of learn a lesson from it, I guess. I feel sort of humbled by going through that, and I feel like in that sense it's made me a much better person. I hope. I'm sure there's many ways I can grow in the future and things I'm going to look back, but and think, oh, when I was 23, I was so dumb I did XYZ. But certainly now that I'm 23, looking back on the content I made when I was 19, and my insecurities, I feel like I've grown a lot in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
It's also like really socially, like I felt so awkward. I don't know how to put it. Like I felt so awkward back then. And like my composure, I guarantee if you interviewed me 3 years ago, I would be like super nervous right now and stuttering like crazy. But it really increased my charisma, I think, just every single week. Especially like I was doing weekly videos in the past, staring at a
Yeah.
camera, and then I would spend hours in Premiere Pro editing, like looking at me, just watching myself talk. Dramatically helps my sense of composure, and my ability to speak clearly and express myself. So in that sense, that's helped me socially a lot. It's helped me grow a lot, I think. So that's how I've changed. And then I forgot the second part of this question, if you remember.
duh, 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 duh. Has anything changed when you go to conventions?
Yeah, it's fundamentally different. Um,
Mhm.
it is, well, if I'm not in fursuit, not much. I know a lot more people, and I certainly like I socially feel more adept. Like I because of like I have I'm better able to articulate myself.
Mhm.
I feel like I could go to con and I can talk to anyone. Not that like I'm perfect, but like in the past I would be stuttering and like really nervous.
Mm.
Um, but also as far as when I'm wearing my fursuit, yeah, no, everything's different. Um,
Okay.
I can't really walk very far without being stopped. Um,
Ouch. Yeah.
uh, I don't mind people chatting with me
Mhm.
at all. But there's some kind of weird people. Um, there's not many people who are like mega weird. There's not many people who are like just total stalkers. But there's a lot of people who want to be my friend. I don't know how else to put that. They decide that they're gonna try to befriend me there, and it's like I don't know you, and like there's 5 people right now, and those people like kind of like low key follow me, or like decide that they're gonna hang out with me, and it's like I didn't invite you. Um, so it's just like a bunch of okay people who don't have any, they're not doing anything wrong, and then a few people who are like low key follow me. It's awkward.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of taking advantage, do
Yeah,
you think has there ever been a point where you actively, I'm going to call it clout, maybe
yeah.
used your clout to be able to get something that you?
Hmm. So like there is some gray area, and strongly
Yeah.
believe. Like let me give you an example of something where like I used clout in a way that's not harmful. Like
Mm-hmm.
someone gave me a beer at Eurofurence. Like they were like, "Hi, I watch your YouTube videos. Here's a free beer." Uh, that's certainly I don't feel like guilty about that.
Yeah.
Um, I can't think of anything where I've like even really touched a gray area. I certainly haven't done anything like bad. I've had people offer me like a lot of like small free things,
Mm.
um, but I don't really feel bad about that. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever. I hope I haven't uh, taken advantage of that, but I can't think of anything like that.
All right. Erayeen asks a very interesting question. Do you
Hmm.
think Asheville is a good place to move to from another country?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I'm not from Asheville.
Yeah.
I'm from Columbia, South Carolina,
Mhm.
which is the capital of South Carolina. But my girlfriend Moth, she was in Asheville for the first 8 months we dated, so I've spent a lot of time in Asheville.
Mhm.
Um,
Is
uh,
just making clarity, Asheville
yeah.
and Nashville.
Oh,
Asheville.
okay. So Nashville is a
Isn't
No.
big, big city
Yeah.
in Tennessee,
yeah.
Yeah.
which is
Asheville. Yeah. Asheville is
Asheville.
the one that we're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, Asheville with no N is a very small city
Mhm.
in the mountains of North Carolina.
That's
It is one of the weirdest cities in the U.S. Um, it's
yeah.
full of just really weird people. Like it. This is a question. How weird are you, the person asking me this question? Because um, okay. Let me put it into perspective. I feel weird there. I mean, I feel too normal there sometimes, and I'm a furry. So, um, if you're queer or if you're trans, um, you will fit in well there. There's a lot of queer people. If you're weird at all, you'll fit in well there. It's really interesting. It's a really cool place. Good luck finding a job. It's hard to find a job, but yeah, no, if it is up there. Like if I could recommend someone to move to the U.S., Asheville is like actually way up there.
All right. Um. Then a
Also, there's
second.
furries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Large amounts of them, because is there a
Uh,
place that have so many furries that you'd call it a furry haven?
no.
No, not
It is
Asheville.
there. Okay, I think the fur group has like 300 people in it in Western North Carolina furries. This is like 300 people within a city, within like a very small city. It's not even really a city, it's like a town. So like there are a lot of furries in for an area that small, which is kind of nice because like, you know, for example, there's a lot of furries in Atlanta, Georgia, but Atlanta's giant. So like, you know, you could get to another furry, but you have to drive an hour through traffic. Asheville, like, this is a bunch of people in a really small area.
I mean, that sounds like Johannesburg to Pretoria kind of vibes, because like the two cities are practically so close together that they can be considered a mega city almost.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like literally, it almost the entire province of Gauteng is practically like 2/3 those two cities at this point. It's
Wow.
They've sprawled to such a point that they're touching one another. Like,
yeah,
districts have been built between them. There's no proper dividing line kind of thing.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So I mean, like it's little things like that where, like, the person may be in the same province that you are, and the province is like the smallest province in the country. It's just it still takes 2 to 3 hours to get to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I don't like about mega cities. I kind of like a smaller-ish city for that reason.
I would love to be able to go to a smaller city, but I'm kind of stuck here now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are coming to the end of the hour and a half. One of the questions that I do want to ask, like for people who are looking to get into, I guess social, not, I don't think social media is the term, but let's say I'm going to call it performance art for now.
Yeah.
Like, what would you suggest, or like things that they should hang on to?
Like general advice, or like what should they do?
General advice, and then maybe a little sort of more specific.
I would say my biggest thing is try to think about content creation. If you're trying to like just get a following, so I talk negatively about like clout chasing a lot. I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with wanting to have a viewership. I think that's a natural thing anyone wants. If you're trying to like gain a following, and also I find it's really fulfilling when you find a niche that no one else explores, right? Because you'll feel more valuable when you know that you're the only person who does XYZ, or you're one of very few people who do XYZ. And so try not to look at what other people are doing and just copy it. Or like, for example, I think that I really like making the data videos because no one else does it. And that also makes them do really well because no one else does it. So I'm the like, if you want to watch data videos on YouTube about the furry fandom, there's me, and maybe there's someone I don't know exists. If there is someone, please let me know because I'd be curious. But like, there's not much other than me. That's a big motivator for me, and it also makes it meaningful. And it also, I think, helps me because, you know, and I'm talking about me, but like there are tons of content creators who do the same thing as this. So they find like their niche. But even if you don't do something like super unique, that's fine. Just make sure you're not like completely copying someone. You need your own style.
All right. Is my mic on? My mic is on. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just okay. Era Yin asks if you'll ever visit South Africa.
Probably. So I want to go to Africa. I've thought about going to south-afrifur this year.
You can
That'd be cool. Yeah. No, if you guys know how to help with that, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Literally, both of us are like, I'm con chair and Scratch is yeah. So we could definitely help if you need help.
Yeah, no, please. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never been to Africa. So, but yeah, no, y'all can hit me up if you want to help. But yeah, I'd love to go to South Africa. I also really want to go to Botswana, and that's like next to it. So that seems like, it'd be cool to go to both.
I think I remember you mentioning this at some point. The idea of going to Botswana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Botswana's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. Um, I don't know if I would. I don't know if like it's hard. Would it be hard to get from Johannesburg to Botswana? Like, would I have to take another flight?
If you want to take a bus, you probably shouldn't.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I'd suggest a flight would probably be the easiest way, but it will be like significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
Taking a flight, like connecting flights between the two countries should actually be relatively inexpensive in comparison to flying here from America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I wouldn't
no,
necessarily. I wouldn't do road transit between the two countries.
Yeah. 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 No, I definitely. Also, my
Rail?
cousin lives in Mozambique, so maybe I'll try to visit him. I would likely fly into Johannesburg or something like that first, but
I know that
I'll see how all that goes.
we had, goodness knows, this was like a whole bunch of years back. This is actually, I think it was before South Africa was even a convention at the time. There was somebody who came down and visited for like almost like just a couple of hours. They were here for lunch. They were going to, I think it was Zimbabwe, to take photos for referencing for their artwork.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there have been a couple of people who have made trips down here for things like that. But yeah, beyond that, like, I mean, like, again, the con's still pretty new, and whichever one is most comfortable for the people coming down here, we're obviously going to try to accommodate. We're very accommodating people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, if you're ever considering coming down to South Africa, then find the best reasons, you know?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest selling points for visiting is more than just like, it's not just the con, but it's like, it's a new part of the world. Like I kind of realized, like, I like Europe, but I've been enough. Now I want to see something new. But I'm definitely looking into it.
Yeah, Trace in chat is actually one of the furs who last year, this year's convention. I say last year as though it was, but they do
2019.
have 2019. They have extensive understanding of like what kind of things to do, when to do them, border passes and things like that. So Trace would actually be good to chat to. If you want, like off stream, we'll exchange details if it's necessary.
Oh yeah, definitely. That'd be cool.
Okay, so I don't necessarily see questions here in chat. Bravura also states that if you need a lift, he can help.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
From
I mean,
Switzerland,
I heard
from Switzerland.
Oh, that's not very helpful.
But they are.
Thank you, though.
Coming through, like,
I mean,
it's more along the
they
idea
could
that
drive
Bravura,
around, drive around Turkey, drive through Egypt, drive all the way down.
But Bravura actually, he's been coming to the convention. This will be the third time they'll be coming through. Fourth.
Nice.
Fourth. Yeah. Fourth. Yeah. So pretty much what could happen is that Bravura, because he always rents a car down here, would be able to like offer lifts and stuff like that. So that's I think that's what they're saying.
Well, like the con is like 10 minutes from the airport, from what I understand.
Yeah, so, but I mean for anything else that you need.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's cool.
All right. So, thank you for joining. We really do appreciate you spending some time with us. It's really, really awesome to just be able to talk to you about like these things. It's definitely awesome. And,
no, it was. Yeah. I appreciate y'all having me. Y'all are really interesting to talk to, well spoken, insightful. You ask good questions. It's certainly like I feel like it's nice having someone ask me questions about myself because like I kind of learn a little bit about myself. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it.
Yeah. So Ivik, you will be
And-
playing music after this.
That's correct.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Well, have a good rest of your Sunday, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week then. Cool.
Yes. Wait, hold on. Next week we actually have a stream.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So for those of you who are still here, next week we are going to have another statistic-based furry. This wasn't planned.
Ooh,
But Tabo Meerkat. That's the person that I was thinking about the entire goddamn stream.
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
But yes. So
that's
next.
right.
Yeah. So next week, Tabo will be joining us in stream the 5th of January. We're also going to be talking some stats, but different stats to these stats, which is actually really interesting. So yeah, keep an ear out to the ground for that. We will be posting stuff on social media about that particular podcast as well. But thank you very much again, Quartz, for joining us.
Yeah.
Really do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be playing some music in the next 10-15 minutes or so, all the way to midnight.
All right. See you guys next week then. Have a good evening.
See you guys next week. Cheers.
Cheers.